Hello, hi, welcome to another recipe, and this is a really exciting one today. Really looking forward to this because cobbler is absolutely divine. Really nice. So if you guys have never tried it before, please do because it is really yummy. So let me just say hello to Justine and Lynn, and we've got a few other people watching as well. Christine, welcome. Now I did pop up a little ad at the beginning just to remind you guys of what is happening over the next few weeks, because we are going to take a short break and just kind of like catch up with ourselves, and we've got the new online course starting, so we want to make sure that those guys start really well, and so we're going to take a short break, and I'll give you guys a quick squiz at the announcement again. So on the 2nd of July, we will be getting to our 100th show in a row. So we'll keep on going until the 100th show every single day. And then we'll have a short break, and then we'll be back on the 9th of July with live recipes every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but always at midday, still, always at midday. And so I'll be doing Thursday, and then you'll have Katie on Friday, and then you have me again on Saturday. And so with the new shows and with the new schedule, we are going to make sure that we release all of the ingredients and the equipment, hopefully maybe a week in advance, 5 days, something like that, just so that you guys are more encouraged to cook along. I know Annie has just come into the room. Welcome Annie, and I think she actually cooked along for the first time the other day and really enjoyed it. I think that some people worry that it's going to be a bit stressful, kind of cooking along at the same time as me, but I think that it's really beneficial for you guys, and that's kind of like our ultimate goal, is to get as many people cooking along as possible, because then you guys can ask us questions as we cook together. So to say hello to a few more people: Lynn, Linda, Debbie, Colleen, Denise, Annie, Sue, Karen. Oh, all you lovely people here. And we missed Paul yesterday, actually. I don't think he was with us yesterday. So maybe he'll pop in today. Yes, so as I was saying, midday as always, but we'll have this short intermission. So between the 2nd and the 9th, we'll literally just be like putting our feet up, drinking gin and tonic from like midday, stuff like that. No, we won't. I promise. Kate is actually moving. I'm getting our new students up and running. George, good morning. Thank you for joining us again. And he says that she loves the cartoons. That's actually just a Bitmoji. So you can actually get the app on your phone. It's called Bitmoji. And I really recommend it. I absolutely love it. But I've had to actually recently change it. So I'll just come back to this. I've actually had to change the hair because I've got quarantine hair at the moment. So it's grown a lot. So recently I had to change her hair. So it's much more like mine now. Right, on to the recipe that we're making today. Do let me know if you guys are cooking along. It would be really good to know who's cooking along, just so that I can check in with you, make sure that everything is going to plan. I can speed up, I can slow down. We can definitely do that. So let me just bring you over to our picture of what we're making today. So we're making a cobbler. If you guys have never made a cobbler before, then this is what it will eventually look like. Elizabeth, hello. So I actually made 2 different types of cobbler, and I'm gonna advise you on the actual fruit that can go into it, because it's a really flexible recipe. So it's just like making a crumble, essentially, really similar to a crumble, apart from that the top doesn't crumble, it holds together more. That's the only difference. So really similar. So essentially, by making this, you could probably change it a bit and make it into a crumble recipe as well. So I purposefully took a photo of the actual kind of cobbler, because you'll see in the picture on the right hand side, so this was my apple cobbler, the picture on the right hand side, you can see how dark that cobbler top is. Okay, so it does come out quite dark, primarily because we're using oats. So oats can go very dark colour, but also we've got a huge amount of spice in there. I put quite a lot of cinnamon in mine, and also I'm using coconut sugar, so that will also make it quite dark. So don't be scared if you put your spoon into it and it looks like rye bread. You know, it's like, it's that dark. It is that dark. So, and you know, it's called Cobbler because it's meant to look like cobbled streets. The Cobbler top that I've made in this picture, I made it actually more on the wet side because I prefer it like that. I prefer it more moist. And that's why in our ingredients today, we have a varying amount of plant milk that you can add. So you can add more or less depending on how wet and dry you want it. So let me just pick up on some comments. Annie says, yes, I would do it today, but I don't have nuts. I only have the oats. And she said, gosh, it looks like me. Yeah, it does. It really, really does. So actually, if you don't have the nuts and seeds, I don't think you need to worry about the nuts and seeds. I've just added them as a really, really great way to get some added nutrition, because I really like getting added nutrition when it comes to desserts. I think that that's, you know, a win-win situation there. Like, you know, you feel like you're having like this lovely, like, decadent dessert, but actually it's really good for you. So it's a good way to sneak them into people's diets. Catherine says hello from Zurich. Hello, good morning, thank you for joining us. Denise says Cobbler looks beautifully rustic. Yes, it does. It does. I think I spoke to you guys yesterday about how with a lot of Italian food, you know, it was so rustic, and I was like trying to make it look perfect all the time. No. Same with Cobbler. A Cobbler is meant to look, you know, kind of like a bit rustic, basically. It has that charm about it. You can't make it look pristine at all. Maria says, hello, I've worn my new apron. Good. That's great. I love seeing pictures of you guys in your vegan chef school aprons. Really, really nice. Jojo, thank you for joining us. I don't think I've seen you in a while. Hope you're doing okay over there in Thailand. Annie says, I would definitely say to anyone nervous about cooking along, it was great fun. Even though I had a panic at one point, and you get to eat the food. Yes, absolutely. I think in a way, like, it could potentially like force people to just making it right there and then, and also not taking too much time, because I know what it's like when you make a new recipe and you're reading from a recipe. It takes 5 times the amount of time to make a recipe from a written instruction as it does when you actually kind of like get up and running with it, or if you do it with us on our cook along. So it can be a bit of a speedier way to try it out. But also, you guys are welcome, if you're cooking along, to say to me, whoa there, can you just like go back to that bit or repeat that thing, or, you know, what did you do with that? Because sometimes you guys are actually doing something, you're mixing something, and you miss what I've done or what I've said. So totally can do that. So thank you, Andy, for mentioning that. Khan said, cooking along today. Good. I hope your mum likes it. That would be great. Okay, so oh, Annie says, okay, keep talking more as I get ready. Okay, let's just chat while Annie gets all her bits and pieces together. So I think that she's just going to do it with the oats today, without the seeds and without the nuts. So they are like optional things, but I would say that if you're not going to add the seeds and the nuts, then increase the amount of oats by 50 grams. But you can use, you don't have to use sunflower seeds. You could use pumpkin seeds as well, because we're going to grind them. But basically, it has to be a seed that will grind quite well. There are some seeds, like flax seeds, that may not grind too well depending on your food processor or a blender. But they might be okay. And with the nuts as well, you can use like pretty much any nuts, I think, with this. Absolutely any nuts. Sierra, that's a lovely name, isn't it? And Sierra says, I'm finally catching you live, watching in Oregon, USA. Thank you for joining us. It must be early there. And she says, how long have we done the show? So Paul isn't here. Paul is usually keeping track of what show we're on. Are we in our 90s yet, guys? Are we in our 90s? I think we are. So the 100th show in a row will be on the 2nd of July. And then we're going to take a little break of a week whilst Katie moves and I get all of our new students sorted, and then we'll be back on the 9th, and from that point we'll do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, so apparently Khan's cat Fiona is making cobbler jokes. Impressive stuff. And Maria says that she has date honey rather than actual dates. Is it okay? No. So basically, the dates that are going to go into it, you can swap it out for any other dried fruit or any other kind of like berries or something like that. So let me just discuss like our recipes today. So with the bases, I've made it with apples and dates and a huge amount of ginger. So just be aware that the amount of ginger that is in that recipe is a lot. We love ginger in this house. We absolutely love ginger in this house. So we have this one option, which is apple, dates, ginger. But we're going to be using, obviously, the dates in their original form like this. So either swap it out for, sultanas or raisins or figs. Figs would be like prunes, but it's just basically to make the cobbler a bit more interesting. So you could, if you don't have any of those things, just increase the amount of apple. That's absolutely fine. Or you could put some berries in it. So pretty much all berries go with apple. So apple is like one of those really versatile things. Berries is also like quite versatile. So them two together is really, really nice. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys a cobbler that had two of these main ingredients in it. Just to make it a bit more interesting. But if you don't have one of them, don't sweat it. Just increase the amount of apple, for example. Or you could do something like apple and pear. If you've got pear, love pear. So yes, and then you do have the option of doing it with peaches. And peaches go together really, really well with blueberries. But I think I was talking to Denise earlier in our group because she was asking about substitutions for the blueberries because she didn't like blueberries, which is absolutely fine. But peaches, again, go really, really well with loads of different berries. So any berries that you want to pop in there. And I think I made some other suggestions as well. But it's just to make it a bit different, and it's lovely seeing how those ingredients interact with each other and how it actually like changes the flavour of each other. It's really, really lovely. So you do have those options, but this is a really, really flexible recipe. It's so flexible. So I have said 450 grams of apple, 450 grams of peaches, but you can play around with that. It doesn't have to be exact at all. I think Joss was asking earlier today about that as well. Colleen has just mentioned today's 90. Happy 90th birthday, everybody. We look pretty well for it, right? So yeah, this is a really flexible recipe. So, if you guys also want to put things like rhubarb in it, because we've just got some rhubarb recently from the allotment, then you can absolutely do that. But if you are going to add something like rhubarb, you would have to add some sugar to it as well, just to counteract the rhubarb's sourness. But just as a crumble recipe is flexible with what you put in the bottom, so is a cobbler recipe. Okay, so Annie, how are you doing with getting everything ready? Have I spoken enough? Did that delay things enough for you? Colleen said we're 89. 89, okay, 89 today. So 90 tomorrow. 90 tomorrow. Okay. Apparently Fiona the cat is going to give us some jokes today, which I'm looking forward to. Ellie, welcome. And Gloria, thank you for joining me. So Annie says that she's ready. She's winging it today with ingredients which is really not like me. But that's okay. Getting outside your comfort zone, always a good thing. Annie is going to be doing our Pro Chef course with us. So Annie and Justine, be prepared to be outside of your comfort zone on a regular basis. That's like my job, really, for you guys. So be prepared. So Gloria said, Wood's late getting post done. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Okay, so let's come over to the overhead shot. And we did also have a question earlier today about how big my oven dish was. So you don't have to be too exact with your oven dish. This is really going to get completely filled up with all of our ingredients today, and this is about 15 centimeters diameter. So in inches, that is 6. So around 6 inches, 15 centimeters diameter. I like using a clear one. I think that whenever you're making something like a crumble a cobbler, anything where you need to see the fruit underneath bubbling away, use a glass one if you can, if you have it. If you're thinking about buying something like this, then I think, you know, making sure that it's a see-through one is great. Also, you know, that would work for if you're making something like a shepherd's pie, similar. Okay, but as I said, you don't have to use something that is exactly this size or shape, as long as it isn't like massive. Otherwise you'll get, you know, a really, really flat cobbler, and you probably won't have enough of the topping to cover it all. Okay, right. Okay, so Susan's 13 days to 2nd of July. Yes, it is going to be 13 days. And just to say that because everybody's like busy off doing like, you know, getting back to work and moving, and Nick is in France, by the way. She sent me a video the other day of where she's staying. It looks beautiful, really, really beautiful. But because everybody's off doing all these things, then it's mainly going to be me for the next 13 days. So I hope you're okay with that. We'll have Katie with us, I think, once or twice, but she's in the middle of moving. So we will be ending these 100 shows in the way that I very much started them, which was with my face here every day at midday. Okay, right. Now, we've had a couple of people asking about what is underneath our rainbow. So Denise has guessed a picture of a guy holding a plate. Okay, his name is Daniel, question mark, low-level detective work here. He's not holding a plate, and it does have something to do with today's recipe. There we go. Okay, so Gloria says it looks like an apple charlotte dish. Yes, well actually this is from Lock and Lock, and I bought these when I had a client who couldn't have any of their food in anything that was made of plastic, basically, for health reasons. So this actually comes with a lid on it, and it's kind of like a piece of Tupperware, but you can also use it as an oven dish, and it's great to use one of these if you're going to then freeze it afterwards, because it's got a lid that fits perfectly on it as well. So, and this is a company that I've used a lot. I don't know if you can see. No, you can't see the name of that. It's called Lock and Lock. Very, very good. Very, very good. Okay, so Justine said maybe mass cook along the Sunday before. We could try it. Definitely. Definitely. Anthony says he is holding a shoe. Yes, he is. He is. You are edging closer to getting who is. Right, okay, so now I'm going to be making the apple version of this today. So I've got my apples here, and I'm going to start by peeling them. So whenever we are making something like a crumble, it is much better if we can peel our apples, because we just don't want that texture inside our cobbler. Christine says, I've scrabbled together enough fruit, so she'll be cooking along with my young grandson. Oh, good. And she thinks it might get messy. That's totally fine. That's absolutely totally fine. Colleen says Daniel is a cobbler. Yes, he is. Does anybody know Daniel's surname? He's quite famous. There you go. There's another clue. See, Jeff will know. Jeff will know because we had a conversation about him the other day. But I don't think he's watching. He's busy at work. Okay, so we're just going to peel these as much as we can. There we go. And with the type of apple that you want to use, if it's quite a tart apple, then you might want to add a bit of sugar. But if they're sweet apples, which most apples, to be fair, are on the sweeter side these days, because the tartness has really been bred out of them. So unless like you actually have an apple tree in your garden, or you go scrumping, and I don't know if that's just like a British term. Is that just a British term? Scrumping? So scrumping is when you go and you essentially like steal apples from, you know, a garden or a park or somewhere that you're not meant to be taking apples from, basically. Khan says, I think Daniel is a character from the Book of Prophets. No, it's not. It's not. And Maria says there's one ingredient not listed, maybe like chunks of cheese. I know, no. I mean, I know you can make a cobbler that is savoury. So you might want to put chunks of like Violife or something like that in it if you make a savoury one. But this isn't going to be a savoury one today. But that said, if you want to put chunks of cheese in your apple cobbler, then go for it. Go for it if that's your thing. Gloria says you peel so much neater than me. You should see the mess I made yesterday. Years of practice. Years of practice. Okay, right, let's get rid of all of these. There we go. Right. And now we're just going to chop these into chunks. So with our apples, you know, we need to get rid of that core. So I'm going to cut them into quarters and then pop them down on my board. So we've got this flat surface. So I think I go on to you guys. Colleen! Oh my gosh. We should have been keeping track of how many you got right. Because she's done it again. So this is our cobbler at the end of our rainbow. And it's Daniel Day-Lewis. So Daniel Day-Lewis is a very, very, very talented British actor. And he is a cobbler, or he was a cobbler. Okay, so with our apples, we found the flat side. Oh, there we are. We found the flat side. Put the flat side down on the surface. Okay, and then have your knife at an angle, at 45-degree angle, and chop out the core. Okay. So once again, so rather than doing it this way with the core up and then this, okay, because that's a bit wobbly. We don't want any wobbliness when we're chopping things. So we put it down on the flat side and then chop out the core that way. Okay. So Catherine said apple scrumping is totally British. Nabbing apples doesn't sound as good. No, it doesn't. Basically, it's apple theft. Definitely apple theft. Colleen says that Daniel Day says retired from acting. Yes, so I've heard. Yeah, I was saying to Jeff that we really need to watch My Beautiful Laundrette. It's an amazing film. Really amazing film. So with our apples, we're just going to chop them into small chunks. There we go, like that size. And just pop them straight into our oven dish. Oh, and Gloria says apparently he's the son of a poet. Oh, well, that would explain a lot. And Jojo says here he was a cobbler in the 90s. Yeah, I think it was in Turin, wasn't it? Yeah, very good actor. Okay. So do taste your apples and just see how sweet they are. Some people also like to add a bit of lemon juice as well. Stop it browning, add another flavour as well. So you can do that if you want to. Depending on how your apples are, they might release a bit of liquid in the bottom, but they might not. So if you want them to be a bit more liquidy, you could just add like a little splash of water. So Khan's cat says, my human is busy chopping apples as well. Not as neat though. That's okay. It doesn't have to be neat. Doesn't have to be neat at all. There we go. And Gloria says that apparently one of his whoever his parent is or was, who is a poet, was apparently a poet laureate. Wow. Okay. So it is better to use eating apples rather than cooking apples for this. So I don't know if you guys have things like Bramley apples in your country, which are really, really lovely, but quite often Bramley apples, they'll just kind of go poof, and they won't hold their shape at all under an intense heat. And we want a bit of texture to this, really. Okay, so there we go. That's all of our apples in there, and then we'll get our dates, and this is around 100 grams of dates. You know, it can just be guesstimate. I think Maria, you said you're using prunes today, which is lovely, really, really lovely. Gloria actually asked a really, really good question. What variety of apples are they? Just eating apples? They look like gala. To be honest, they're from our veg box, so I don't know because they don't tell us. They don't tell us. That's the thing. Like we keep getting really, really lovely veg, and particularly the potatoes, which are different every week, but we don't get told what type they are. So yeah, so I don't know what apples they are, but they look like gala. They look like gala. So let's go with that. Let's go with that. But they're actually from Riverford, so we're getting our box again from Riverford, which is really lovely, really lovely. And so, oh, apparently Justine's little furballs kept her up a lot last night. Oh, yes, they can do that. So with our dates, we're just going to tear them in half. So you can see how small mine are. Okay, so if you've got big dates, then maybe just tear them into quarters. But if your apple isn't that sweet, then the dates will really, really help with that. Really help with that, because you know they are like gooey, sugary things, especially once they're cooked. Catherine says Boscop apples are beautiful for baking. Oh, lovely. No, do they keep their shape or not? Annie says I found a bag of mixed toasted seeds. That might be really lovely, actually. I think that would work really, really well. Really well. And you just got to be careful, like it doesn't have any kind of flavouring in there. Catherine says fantastic that you get all British food boxes delivered. Yes, it is really, really good. And we're actually been like going through some of the different boxes that they've had and just seeing like what suits us really. So for a long time we would get the British only. But then there are times when we didn't get tomatoes and lettuce, and Jeff really likes tomatoes and lettuce on his sandwiches. So then I end up having to get some bits and pieces from Ocado, but then I'm getting really sick of the amount of packaging that is on their organic veg. It's just crazy. It's crazy, like how much packaging is on it. So sorry guys, I totally forgot to say I just added the ginger. So if any of you guys are cooking along at home, add the ginger now, mix it in really, really well, and then that's our bottom done. As I said, if you want it to be a bit more moist, then you can just add a splash of water. So, you know, like 2 or 3 tablespoons if you want it to be a bit more moist. I'm going to keep it as it is. There we go. So now we can get onto the top. So let's just move all of this to one side. Okay, so we've got our ingredients over here, and we've got our oats, and these are just like regular oats. We're going to blend them anyway, so it doesn't really matter what type of oats you're going to use. And I'm using hazelnuts and sunflower seeds today. I'm using coconut sugar, but you guys can use whatever sugar you feel comfortable using. We've got some baking powder here, some cinnamon. This is quite a spicy one. You know how I like to sneak in spices wherever I can. And then we have our plant milk, and then we have our oil here. So I'm using coconut oil, and this is a refined coconut oil, so it doesn't have the flavour of the coconut in it. So I'm just going to pop that into a pan of water to melt whilst we do the rest of it. There we go. Okay, so Justine has said about the fresh ginger. To be honest, it's better to add the ground ginger to this recipe. It is better. because, well, it has like a slightly different flavour, but also has more of an intense flavour. But if fresh ginger is all that you have, then add that. Add that, but be generous with it. Just be generous with it. Gloria asks about ground almonds. Is that in replacement of the nuts? Yes, you could use that. Absolutely, you could use that. And Khan says, Chef Day, my human is using nectarine instead of peaches. Will that be a problem? No, no, not at all. Not at all. That's not a problem at all. Okay, so now we can start making our top. So I've got my my little jug thing here, and I'll start with my oats and pop all of those into the jug. So if you guys have got a food processor at home, you can use that, definitely. A chopper attachment of hand blender might also do the same thing. There we go. Okay. Justine says it wasn't me that went shopping. Wow. Yeah, we'll try it. We'll try it. You can try these things and just see how you get on. So into here, we'll also pop our nuts and our seeds. There we go. And then pop the lid on, and we'll give it a blend. And mind your ears with this because it's going to be noisy. Okay, so I give it a little blast and then I give it a bit of a shake. And you can see there that I tap it on the side, and that's just because what happens with the blender and the blade is that it pushes all of the ingredients up the sides. And so if you can just tap it, then it means that all of the, well, some of the top parts will fall back into the blades, and you'll basically, you'll blend and grind it a lot quicker. And so if you don't do that, what you're at risk of doing is the blender just kind of like blending around the same ingredients again and again and again, and all of the other ingredients just being off to the side, and we don't want that. Justine said, did you add the dates? I think I missed a bit. Yes, yes we did. So let's bring it back over here. So in here we have the dates, the apples, and the ginger. Okay, dates, apples, ginger in there. Okay. And Justine said, can I slow down a bit? Yes, of course. So, Justine, apple, dates, ginger in there, please. And then, in here, we've got our oats, our seeds, and our nuts. And I've just melted my oil. So it depends on which oil you're using. You might not need to melt it. So welcome, Jeff and David. Actually, we'll see if Jeff can guess what is underneath our rainbow, because I think he might know. But then he's got like a really small phone, so he might not be able to see. So Jeff, can you guess who is at the end of our rainbow today? What do you reckon? Okay. And Justine asked, what do you have in the blender? Okay, so in here we have our oats, our seeds, and our nuts. Oats, seeds, and nuts. Okay? Right, so Justine, you have to, oh, you're okay. You're okay now. Good, good, good. Okay, so I'll just go and grab the oil that I have melted over there. And as I said, this is coconut oil. It's coconut oil, which I really, really like. Really, really like. And Christine said, do you have to whiz up the topping? Yes, so for this recipe, you need either a food processor or hand blender with a chopper attachment, or something like that, because we've just ground our oats basically into oat flour. So if you can get hold of oat flour, then fair enough, like get hold of it. but it's kind of expensive here in the UK. Might be cheaper in the US because I think there are more places that make it, that produce it. So yeah, but if you don't have something like this, what you could do is you could use oat flour, and then you could use something like flax seeds that are already ground, and then you could use ground almond. So that's kind of like a workaround for if you don't have something like this. Okay, so now we've got a nice big bowl here. We don't want to mix this in a small bowl, so make sure that I've got a nice big bowl, and then we'll just pop this into our bowl. So this is our ground oats, our ground sunflower seeds, and our ground hazelnuts. Oh, Gloria says, my vet friend told me to use coconut oil years ago. She used it for everything. It's very, very good. Very, very good. Justine said, do we need to turn the oven on? Yes, I'm sorry. I actually put that in the instructions on the Facebook page, but I forgot to mention it at the start of the recipe. Yes, so you'll need to put the oven on to 200 degrees Celsius, which is 390 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 6. Okay, so sorry about that. 200 degrees Celsius, 390 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 6. Okay, right. Now back to our bowl. So now we can add our other dry ingredients. So we'll need to add our sugar. As I said, I'm using coconut sugar because I really like coconut sugar, but you guys can use whatever sugar you feel comfortable using and eating. And then we've got our cinnamon here. As I said, this is like a real spiced recipe because you know how much I like my spices. And then we've got our baking powder here. So 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, and then we've got 50 grams of coconut sugar there. Okay, and so just really mix this in. Make sure we don't have any lumps. Just using the back of the spoon. There we go. And then we can add our oil. And our milk. So I'm just going to add about 2/3 of my milk and see how we get on. So as I said, I've given you the guidelines of between 60 and 90 millilitres of plant milk. So it depends how wet or how dry you want your cobbler to be, because really with cobbler, you know, there are some recipes where it comes up, you know, quite dry, really quite dry. Jeff, you got it, you got it. Yeah, you won't be surprised. You won't be surprised when I tell you that Colleen got it first. I know. But yeah, we were talking about him just the other day. Okay, so back to our bowl, and this does start thickening up a bit. So this is the consistency of mine. There we go. And I probably added about 70 millilitres of milk, because I like it to be this consistency. But if you want it to be a bit more solid, you know, not as wet, then you could just add less plant milk. So you could even bring it down to like 50 ml if you wanted. Gloria had a question about is plant milk soy milk? So the milk that I'm using is, but guys, when I say plant milk in a recipe, what that means is that you can use any dairy-free milk at all. It doesn't matter. There are some recipes where we specify that you need to use soy milk. So say for example, like in a ricotta where you need it to split, then I'll say soya. But if it can be like any plant milk, just to kind of give you guys that flexibility, because we all use different milks, but it doesn't really matter which plant milk it is in this recipe as long as it's plant milk. And Patricia says, I have to go to a boring meeting now, but hoping to see the video later. Ah, gosh, could you not just say to them, well, I'll make a cobbler, and then we'll delay the recipe, and then I'll bring the cobbler. Sorry, I'll delay the meeting. I've got recipes on my brain. I'll delay the meeting, and then I'll bring the cobbler to the meeting. I think that would work. That would work. Okay, Justine has caught up. Good. Right. Okay. And Denise says, please give me oven temps again. Okay, so 200 degrees Celsius, 390 degrees Fahrenheit. The 200 degrees Celsius, 390 degrees Fahrenheit. Gloria says almond milk is not though. Well, that's a really, really good point. But plant milk is like a catch-all term for any type of dairy-free milk. So all of them are called plant milks. Okay. And so now we need to get a couple of spoons. We don't need that milk anymore. To pop our top onto our cobbler. There we go. Okay, so grab spoonfuls of it. And I don't know if you just saw, but I used the side of the bowl to help shape that. There we go. And then we can just pop that on top. So as you can see, it is a bit on the soggy side for a cobbler, because that's how I like it. I like it a bit more moist. I mean, I think particularly with this apple one, because the apple is a bit more on the dry side. When you've got the berries in there, if you put any berries in your cobbler, it will be more wet, because, you know, lots of juice comes out of them. Jojo says she'll use pistachio. That's amazing. Wow, that's going to be good. And so guys, if you do decide to sub out any of the ingredients in the top, like the flour, that will change how thirsty it is. So it might change the amount of liquid that you have to add to it. So just bear that in mind if you do swap out the oat flour for anything else. Okay, and there we go. So we'll just pop that in the oven for about 40 minutes. I put mine in the oven for 40 minutes. And so we want to make sure that this goes all like a nice brown. But what is very, very important is that we want to, and let me just bring you guys here. We do need to make sure that this fruit that is at the bottom here is bubbling. Okay, so that's what we need to really, really watch out for. And if you want to check whether the fruit is done, then you can just poke a fork into it and get to the fruit and test how done they are. So, you know, you might have used maybe some fruit that's a bit underripe. So if you're using peaches and they're a bit underripe, you may have cut them into like very big pieces, and therefore they take a bit longer to cook. So you might want to test that out. So just poke a fork in there and test the fruit. But you know, I did purposefully cut my apples fairly small, so they should be okay. They should be okay. Okay, so guys, this is what we will have in the end. This lovely, yummy thing. Jojo says that apparently pistachio milk is cheaper. Wow, really? That's amazing. And Jess is looking forward to cobbler o'clock already. Oh, wow. Yes, we have eaten quite a lot of cobbler in this house. And George says, if I want to make this oil-free, can I use water instead of coconut oil for the batter? Not sure. Not sure. I can't promise that it will turn out in the same way. I think if you can use applesauce or yogurt as well, actually. I have experimented with taking the oil out of some baking recipes and substituting it with dairy-free, sugar-free yogurt, and that worked out really, really well. So that might be an option. Jojo said, I might just try this next week in the cafe. That would make my day, honestly. So let me know how you get on with it. And we'd love to see pictures of your cafe as well, actually. So if you'd like to share it in the Community Hub, our Facebook group, then that would be really, really lovely. And I'm sure eventually we might actually get to come and visit, which would be amazing. Amazing. And Catherine is wondering where we put it in the oven. So lower middle. Yeah. You know your stuff. You know your stuff. So not at the top, because we want like a good all-round heat. So I'm going to pop mine in the middle of the oven. So let me just do that. There we go. There we go. Okay. So Justine says I might have taste tested some of the top. Does it matter the fruit's not all covered? No, it doesn't matter at all. That's one of the beautiful things about a cobbler, is that it's meant to look like cobblestone. So ours are a bit flat. they're a bit more flat than they normally would be. But the idea is that you get these kind of like scones. So if you can imagine like scones being placed on top of stewed fruit, essentially. You would have gaps between those scones, between those cobbles, and then that can bubble up, and that looks really, really tasty. Really, really tasty. With mine, as you can see, because I've made quite a wet mixture, quite a wet cobbler top, the fruit that's underneath it isn't really able to penetrate that top, it isn't able to bubble up. But that's the way that I like it. So so guys, let me know how you get on. George said applesauce would be perfect. Please do let me know how you get on with making these substitutions, because it is quite likely that other people in the group would really like to know, because they might like to omit the oil as well. So it'd be great to know that. Khan said, how many people can I serve, or should I enjoy this all alone? Babe, I think you deserve it. I think you deserve it. Just get a spoon and the whole thing. You can just sit there like watching Netflix with it. Although your mum might like it. Do you think your mum would like it? I want to get like the Khan's mum seal of approval. I'm absolutely determined. So do let us know how you get on. Yeah, and Denise said offer some to your mum. Yes, we are totally going to convince her. Khan's mum. She may even come to the show one day. That would be nice. We can have a bring your mum day. Jeff's already done it. Okay, right. So thank you for joining me again today. Everyone who's cooking along at home, cook your cobbler for around 30 to 40 minutes. You want to see that fruit bubbling on the bottom. Henry, what time to call this? Okay guys, we've got Henry from Bosch who's just joined the group. So you're gonna have to catch up on this one, I'm afraid, Henry. So this is what we just made today. This is our gluten-free cobbler with apples, dates and ginger in the bottom, and some people have made it with peaches and blueberries. We've given lots of options, so do have a look at that again, and you might want to put that on your next show. You never know. Okay guys, so just to say that if you haven't checked out Bosch's stuff, then please do. Of course, they've got a ton of videos. An absolute ton of videos on there. So Annie says, it's in the oven. Glad you mentioned that I might have spaces in the topping because I have lots of spaces. Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that's what happens with a cobbler. Not with my cobbler, because I do mine on the wet side. Justine says, I think mine looks too neat. Okay, we definitely need a picture in the group of that. Jenny says, it looks amazing. Denise says, thank you, Chef Deck. Thank you. Thank you all for joining me. Do post your pictures in the group later on. We would love to see it. Try not to eat it first, okay? We don't mind if it's half eaten, but don't eat like the whole thing, okay? Henry says, oh, shucks day, thanks, big love, this looks amazing. Make it and see what you think. Jenny says, you should post on YouTube, give Bosch a run for their money. Oh gosh, I haven't got to YouTube yet. I'm still like dealing with this whole like Facebook thing. But just to say as well, actually guys, a few weeks ago we were managing to put the written recipe with the video. Haven't really been able to do that recently, but what we're trying to do is trying to get the recipe videos onto our website, because I know how difficult it is to actually like find stuff on Facebook. It can be really, really tricky. So that is like something that we're in the process of doing, but it takes a while. It does take a while. But in the meantime, there is our first month worth of live recipes on the website, so do check that out. Elizabeth said enjoyed cooking along. Oh, you cooked along. Good, good, good. Okay, pictures please. Okay, people, that's part of the deal. You cook along, you share a picture on the community hub. Okay, right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll be here again tomorrow. We'll all be here again tomorrow. So I will let you know what we're making, and see if you can cook along. So, as always, guys, please do have a lovely day.